Hello everyone, my name is Frank, or as some like to call me, the Wizard. Today I'm going to be showing you a tutorial on how to rig a hand in After Effects using DuIK. Now for those of you who don't know what DuIK well, DuIK is a plugin for After Effects that makes rigging very, very easy compared to traditional means in After Effects with puppet pinning. So if you're curious in learning more about DuIK and what it is, I'm providing a link down below. Just select that link there and it'll take you to the homepage to download DuIK for After Effects. So with that being said, let us begin our tutorial. As you can see here, we have a hand, an animated, cartoon looking hand, and as you can see, there's some layers here. They look like nulls, but if we move these null layers over and around, we can create realistic movement. And so this is what I'm going to be showing you today on how and what to do to create this really awesome looking hand rig. So first things first, let's go ahead and create a new project. And let's not save this. Create a new composition. Now for this tutorial purpose, I'm just using, 900 by about 500 pixels. No real reason why, just because it's whatever I had preset. Let's fit my view up to 100%. And I'm going to import my assets for rigging. So I go to Import File, select that, and I have this folder called hand.psd. Now before I continue forward, I'd like to let you all know that when rigging anything in After Effects, it's very important to have your assets prepared properly. Now by that I mean having proper layers and what they do. So I'm going to go and import this hand.psd and make sure it's imported as a composition. Press OK. Now as you can see, I have this hand comp. Just drag and drop to the timeline, and I'm just going to resize it. Why? I don't know, just because. Now this hand is not very high resolution. It's just something I slapped together here. So let's go and open up the hand and left hand. You can see that I have multiple layers here. Now, going back to what I said about prepping your assets properly, it's very important that you have each of these layers here in your hand as separate layers. The reason for this is that DuIK likes to treat joints, arms, legs, and fingers like chains, and you'll see this more in detail later on as I start to rig this. DuIK likes the whole IK chain idea, and so it's important to have, to me at least, to have all of your joints for your fingers as separate layers. So without any further ado, I am going to show you DuIK. So I already have DuIK installed on my computer, so all I have to do is go to Window and select DuIK.jsx. Now that .jsx extension, it just means JavaScript. After Effects has this JavaScript language that you can go and create tools for. So this is the UI for DuIK. And let's start, let's start rigging. So for this example, I'm just going to choose the pinky layer, which is right here in the foreground. It's nice and easy to see. So all I have to do is select my pinky layer and select my puppet pin tool. Before I do that, just for ease of use, I like to just solo this layer all by itself, just so that I can focus on this layer and this pinky. So you can go ahead and change the expansion in triangles for this puppet pinning. I like to use a higher amount of triangles, but be warned, if you use a really high count of triangles, that's going to increase your render time almost exponentially. So it's kind of a win-lose situation. I like to use higher triangles just because it's higher resolution, it looks nicer. So let's begin by pinning everything. So what I like to do is I like to pin from the root out to the end. So root, middle joint, and the end of the pinky. Cool, right? Nice and simple so far. So after that, I go to the pinky layer right here on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, select Mesh drop down, and select Deform. Now, it is very, very important to label each one of your puppet pins as uniquely as possible. And by that I mean, if it's a pinky, make sure that it relates to the pinky, or the ring finger relates to the ring finger, and each pin has a unique name. And the reason for this is if, for example, if you say finger 1, 2, 3, and then you label the other layer, the ring finger, finger 1, 2, and 3, DuIK is going to hate you forever because it's not going to be able to differentiate the difference between the ring finger and the pinky finger, you know, finger 1, 2, and 3. It's just the way DuIK is coded, so it's very important to have unique names for everything that you pin. So for this example, I'm in the pinky layer, so I'm going to call this pinky 001, pinky 002. Make sure you label everything properly. Look at that, I put 2 N's there. And then pinky 003. Okay, cool. 3 pins. Now we're going to start exploring the coolness of DuIK. So I've selected all 3 of these pins, and I'm going to go ahead and create some bones right here. This button basically creates 3 nulls on the pinky. Alright, that's cool. As you can see here they are, B_pinky 3, 2, and 1. I can move any of these if I want to. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit, but it really doesn't do anything yet. It still looks like that floppy looking sausage from before. So, from there, let us create a controller. Now, controllers are, I like to think of them as tokens, handles, something for the animator to grab and control. So, when you think about a joint, like an arm, like a leg, like a finger, for example, I want to be able to control my finger from the end here. So, okay, that's all right. So I can click on controllers, and it creates another null layer called C controller for the bone of pinky 003. This is going to be used later on to actually bend the pinky the way that we want. The next thing we want to do is create a parent-child relationship with the pinky. This is a little hard for me to explain, but what I mean by that is, in your pinky, you can see that there's 3 joints. We have an end joint, a middle joint, and a root joint. Now, each one of these joints is related or relatable to one another. So if you look at your finger, just do this for me, just point your finger out and start bending it. You notice that if the end of your finger, like the very tip right here, bends, so does the middle joint and the root joint. That's super important to know because we need to make sure that we have this hierarchy as well in After Effects. So let's start pick whipping everything. So here's your little pick whip option. We're not selling anything. So we select our end. Well, this end needs the middle, just like a real finger would. And from the middle, we select our root, which is the end joint here. So this guy needs this guy, and this guy's just by itself. Pretty cool, right? So far, so good. Now comes the actual IK rigging to actually make this thing, this finger sausage, bend like a real finger. So you notice that this labeling scheme that I have and this hierarchy that I put together is actually quite beneficial because what DuIK needs to do before you even select this IK option is you need to select your end, middle, root, and then your controller in that order. And then you can select IK. Now we have some options here in the IK window. Now this orientation here is if you want it to bend one direction or the other. And if you notice something, you see this this text here? It's French. The creator of DuIK is a French guy. His name is Dudolf. I can't really say his name correctly. I hope I am. So if you look, it says controller FK0IK, and controller is this stretch. Well, this bottom option right here basically means if you want to squash and stretch your finger. And for me, personal preference, I don't like that. I don't want to squash and stretch my finger joints. Arms, legs, torso, maybe some of the head too is okay to squash and stretch. But for me, I'm not a big fan of squashing and stretching fingers. So I deselect that and press OK. And now you're probably wondering, oh, okay, Frank, what happened? What do we do next? What's the big thing? Here's the drum roll. Boom, 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 boom. We select the controller for the bone of Pinky 003 and let's move it. Look at that. See how the other layers are moving in relation to each other? That's pretty cool, right? But look at that. We're still getting that weird sausage look. That's no problem at all. Here's what we need to do to finalize this finger and make it look awesome. So we select our pinky layer again, go to the pen tool, select Puppet Starch tool. This is very important, I think, in rigging a finger and making it look right. So now that we've pinned the finger correctly and rigged it correctly, let's stiffen some of the joints. Think about it like, well, you know that Terminator scene, or sorry, that scene in Terminator where Arnold takes out his hand and he looks at his hand and all those stiff looking joints bend together in this very interesting way. This is kind of what we need to do for this finger, is we got to make it look like that Terminator hand, but not so, well, scary. So we need to starch the joints in between here of the finger. So let's add some starching here between this part and this part here. You can add as many starching pins as you want, as long as it's beneficial to you. So that's basically about it for the starching. Let's try moving this pinky again. Oop, I selected the wrong thing. Look at that. Now we've got this nice high angle. We've got a nice strong angle right there on that joint. That looks really good now. So let's take out the solo layers here and let's look at the rest of the hand. Voila! We have a basic looking finger. That's how you create a finger in After Effects using DuIK. Now just from this, you can repeat the process on all 4 or 3 other fingers, depending on what kind of cartoon you're putting together. And for the thumb, the only difference that you would need to do is, remember when that IK window opened up and you had that greater than and less than symbol? Just switch the symbol over because it's spinning the opposite direction here. Yeah, that's basically about it for this tutorial for today. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me or contact me in any way, and I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding After Effects and DuIK. Well, you guys have a great day and keep on animating. Peace out.